You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 218. Let's talk about business, a Friendsgiving special. If you're a business owner who wants to improve your time management and elevate your productivity so you can maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. In this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, I sit down for a virtual Zoom chat with business besties Amanda Berlin, Carol Cox, Hilary Hendershott, Jamie Lieberman, LuAnn Nigara, Jessica Rodriguez, and Vita Vygovska. Each of these amazing women pull out a different part of me and collectively make me the best woman and business owner I can be. I seriously have so much gratitude for these relationships and the impact they've had on my business. I also know that the important nuggets they share in this episode will have a positive impact on your business as well. So much wisdom and insight was shared during this chat for you to join us on. In this episode, you will learn lessons from challenges and triumphs in our businesses, how we navigated mindset shifts, insights in insurance, accountability, and delegating, what we're most grateful for closing out 2021, the necessary business skills that cannot be taught, and so much more. I really hope you enjoy this week's episode, and I wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I want to invite you to my upcoming masterclass. Discover how to achieve any business goal you set with my proven formula to get your business goals to the finish line and make your big dreams your reality. Because you and your business deserve it. Claim your spot in my free masterclass, Full Speed Ahead. You can do that by going to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. Again, you can join us for free by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. And now let's meet our guests and get to the straight talk. Ladies, welcome to Productivity Straight Talk and our Friendsgiving second annual podcast. And I'm so grateful that each of you said yes and you're here today. Before we get started, why don't you just introduce, I'm going to go around my room and I'll just call on each of you to introduce yourself a little bit and maybe how, like a memory or how we got connected might be a good insight, kind of a fun thing for our listeners. So I'm going to pick on Carol because she's first up on my screen here.
Hi, I'm Carol Cox, founder of Speaking Your Brand and host of the Speaking Your Brand podcast. We help women entrepreneurs become thought leaders, primarily through the channel of public speaking. And Amber and I met at a conference, those in-person conferences that we miss so much. We met at that in, I think it was 2017. And then we saw each other at several other conferences in the year or two after that. And here we are.
That's right. I really am. We had a text going. Hilary reached out this week and she's like, okay, I'm craving. Like, what conferences are you looking at this year? And I'm thinking, yes, I'm so ready for it as well.
Well, let us know.
Hilary. Right. We all need to ascend on the same city and like crash a conference. Okay. Hey, Hilary, you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about you?
Sure. I'm Hilary Hendershott. I run Hendershott Wealth Management. I'm the host of Profit Boss Radio. I am a profits and wealth coach. I help female business owners keep and grow more of their profits. And I don't know, I think, Amber, aren't you and I actually sisters?
Yes.
I think I'm not.
So I met her at a conference too. And I think my pickup line was, I think you could be my sister. In fact, fact, I know I remember because you know how you write like things that you would remember about people on the back of business cards. I wrote, and I remember years later finding that business card and sending her a picture. I was like, I even wrote it on the business card. She could be my sister.
It just said sister ?
There you go.
But like true sisters, there was never really a getting to know you phase. I feel like we just dove right in. So it's been good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Vita, you're up next.
Well, thank you. And thanks so much for having me here, Amber. I so appreciate it. My business is Vitalia Inc., window treatments and awnings. We're based in Philadelphia, and we are a one-stop shop, a go-to resource, a VIP treatment, a concierge level service for luxury interior designers ready to fly first class in the world of window treatments. And how you and I met, I found out about you through a series of podcasts. LuAnn's was one of them. And there were a couple of others. And it was just like, Amber from different sides, and it's like the universe was just put you in front of me. And of course, when I see and hear anything productivity related, that just makes my heart sing and zing. And, I started doing mental cartwheels. And of course, later I hired you as my productivity coach. And now we are besties. We're business besties. And I love that.
That's right. I love hearing all these journeys of how I've gotten to meet each of you and you've come into my life. So thank you so much, Vita. We are connected on the productivity level for sure. We kind of share a similar mind.
And all Excel spreadsheets.
Exactly. All right. LuAnn, you're up next.
Well, you know that we share that same similar mind with spreadsheets and productivity.
No way.
We are business besties and sisters like that too. Come on, tell them all.
I'm going to say yes. We can be business besties and friends, but not on the spreadsheet level. No.
I think I'm offended. I too thank you for inviting me to this. This is super fun. My name is LuAnn Nigara. I am a keynote speaker and author, and I am the podcast host of A Well-Designed Business, where we teach interior designers how to be profitable. And we do it with a lot of straight talk and no fluff. It's like no whining here. There's no whining in interior design, okay? So, and how did we meet? It's so funny because at this point, it's just this big quagmire. Like I honestly am wondering how we met.
Well, I can tell you how we met because this is
thank
a
you.
business lesson. I was pitched to be a guest on your show, and I was just a guest.
Okay.
And had I known who LuAnn Nigara was or what the Well-Designed Business Podcast was, like how big it was, I'm not sure we would be where we were at today because I would have gotten so nervous about it. But essentially, I just showed up and served, and you and I really connected just from one interview that led into you being on my podcast, that led into a book and events and friends and coaching. And it literally, you're right. It just kind of, we've been in our world, each other's world.
I didn't remember the German. I wondered if you had pitched to be on the show, but I wouldn't have sworn. I didn't know if maybe I heard you on Carol's show or, anywhere. And I just knew once you were on though, then I was like, oh, this is smart lady. I'm taking her with me. She's going to come and I grab all of you. When I find you, I'm like, oh no, you're coming with me. I don't know where we're going.
That you do, LuAnn. That you do.
That's right. You know what? It was for a time period that I had someone pitching me to be on podcasts. Yes. And I'm so glad I did because I would not have pitched myself to you. That opportunity wouldn't come up. So it's fate. All right. Amanda, you're up next.
Yes. Hello. I am Amanda Berlin. Amber, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled. I'm just always thrilled that we're connected. I thank my lucky stars every week. I am a visibility consultant who helps women in business who feel like they are lost in the noise, that they're frustrated, they're not more known in their industry. I help them be seen, heard, and recognized, understood, fully expressed, and known for their unique genius. I'm the host of the Empowered Publicity Podcast. And Amber, you and I met when I arrived in 2018 in Irvine, California for a conference. And I was standing at the check-in with my friend, Mary, and you were either right behind us or right in front of us. And you were like, let's have lunch. And so we sat down for lunch and the rest is history.
There you go. I so need to get myself back to conferences. All right. Awesome. And Amanda, you were referencing because Amanda and Jamie, oh my goodness, you guys, Jessica's missing. Jessica's not on here. I'm going to check my messages and just see where she's at. But Jessica is here too, or should be here, but she just moved. So maybe she's having internet issues. All right. But Amanda and Jamie and Jessica, you'll meet her soon, I hope. The four of us meet every other week. And we started that at the beginning of 2020 during COVID and have just kept it going. So we do get to see each other quite a bit. All right, Jamie, you're up next.
I was just checking to see if Jess had messaged.
I know. Did she? Okay. I'm going to jump on.
I know. I just looked.
No. Okay. Go ahead.
In the meantime, I am Jamie Lieberman. I am a lawyer and I am the owner and founder of a law firm called #Legal. We provide legal services to small businesses and entrepreneurs, typically creators or innovators who frankly are tired of dealing with lawyers. So we try to do that in a way that's easy and accessible and doesn't feel too lawyerly, but yet you know what you're getting done is going to protect you. We look at legal services as something that can actually make you money rather than cost you money if you do it correctly. And we try to just make it the easiest and most client-friendly possible experience when working with us. I am about to launch a new podcast, which I've just started to announce. It's going to be called the Unbusiness Podcast. And
Yay.
We're going to be...
Can we just celebrate you for a second there? I cannot wait for it to come out.
That has been a long time coming. And we just announced that we're doing it in seasons. And our first season is actually going to be about conflict and conflict resolution, because as a lawyer, that's literally all we do sometimes. And so I wanted to share some tips and tricks about that.
Excellent. Okay.
Good.
So thank you so much for taking the time to introduce yourselves. I would like to tee this off with what are we most grateful for? So it's going to be our Thanksgiving giving celebration week. And so what are we most thankful for in our businesses? Like what opportunities have our businesses provided for us? And anyone can start us off. I'll see if we can get a raise of hands because I'm just throwing this question out there. Go, Jamie.
I'm actually really grateful that I was able to create a law firm that was not like a typical law firm, that enables my staff, who are all women, to actually have truly flexible environments and still work on really cool legal issues. And so my staff is very autonomous and they're flexible. They work virtually if they want to. And yet somehow we still are profitable. And even though I was told for a very long time that wasn't possible, I am very grateful that we were able to make that happen. And that I didn't listen to all the people who said that can't work, because everybody wants lawyers to be sitting in their desk all day long, every day.
Right. I mean, really, the thing you're grateful for is the thing that you said, all these things I don't like. I'm an attorney. This is my career path. I don't like this. I'm going to go create something completely opposite.
Yeah, I'm just grateful it worked.
Yeah.
You'll have to eat a lot of crow.
Exactly.
Oh, you're right.
All right. Awesome. Who's up next? Vita.
I am really grateful for my team this year. It took me a long time to build the team that I have in place right now. And anyone who is in the interior design industry, window treatment industry, construction industry, real estate knows how crazy busy we are this year. I mean, who would have thought right when COVID hit a couple of years ago that that's what's going to happen? But that's exactly what's happening. You know, the demand is through the roof, sales are through the roof. So we're experiencing our best year ever by far. And there is just no way that we would have been able to handle it, or I would have been able to handle it on my own, and without the team that I have here right now. And so I am so grateful that I have these wonderful, smart, beautiful, resilient people in my life and here in my business, and handling everything that this life and business life is throwing at us, because otherwise it just wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, I love that for you, Vita. And I just know that you kept your standards and kept your vision of the team that you wanted to create. And I'm so happy for you.
You had the front row seat to all the ups and downs, to all the back and forth, to the good and the bad and the ugly of it. And it's just where I am right now today. It's just such a great and beautiful place. I have the right people, the right seats on the bus or butts on the seats or whatever the way that saying goes.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
I love that we can see how excited you are, but you also shared it wasn't just I decided I wanted a wonderful team and bam, you have a team. I think we can all agree that building our teams, leading our teams can be quite a journey as business owners.
Sure was.
Yeah. All right, Amanda.
Yes. Thank you. So I have been reflecting kind of on, this year, but also kind of globally in my business. In January, it will be 10 years since I left my corporate career. And my business has grown every year, exponentially. In 2020, so each year it grew despite the pandemic. In 2020, I had a year where I just needed to go really hard and push, just like probably everyone, to keep things going and keep things afloat. And what I'm celebrating and what I'm grateful for is this year, the business continued to grow, but I didn't have to push as hard. And I had a quality of life that I needed to step back and recognize that is a huge marker of success, that I could create, even more revenue while also having an improved quality of life.
Yes, that's awesome. And did you shift at all? This just seems like a natural question. In 2020, when you said you had to push, did you have to shift because of the pandemic?
I had to shift my marketing tactics because I think I may have talked about this on our Friendsgiving last year, where I had an event that was canceled due to the pandemic. It's supposed to be an in-person event. And ultimately, we rescheduled it to I guess we rescheduled to a month later.
That we were so cute. Thought that would work.
And then we rescheduled it to September of 2020. And that even seemed like that was ridiculous eventually. And then ultimately I held it virtually in March of this year. And I remember in that moment, actually, I guess when we recorded this last year, I hadn't yet executed on that event. I remember in the moment when I had to cancel that event and I went through the, 5 stages of grief in rapid succession on the street corner in Hoboken, that the last thing that I thought in that kind of emotional moment was, perhaps what happens next is going to be better than what you could have planned. And that is ultimately what ended up happening. So to answer your question, my pivot was that I held the event virtually, which was in retrospect such an obvious advantage because so many more people from so many different places could attend.
Yes. All right. So I was going to say, then you're very grateful for a successful virtual event in 2021. There you go.
It doesn't even feel like it was this year that happened, but it was 6 months ago.
Awesome. Anyone else want to share? Yes, Hilary.
To the same tune as Vita, I've been back and forth with hiring and firing the right people, the wrong people, training people like that, figuring out what the heck it is I need. And at this point, I feel like we have a team. It's 5 women total who we're plugging on all cylinders. It's there's momentum. There's things that I thought I would have to do for the rest of my life that I'm no longer doing. We created business time blocking for 2022. Finally, I told my team, I said, if I have to keep task switching, I'm either going to end up medicated or divorced. So figure it out. And without getting into the details of what all, I know everyone listening knows what I mean by task switching. And so we did it in 2022. Hi, someone new is on the line in 2022.
Jess, we love you. Don't even hold your hand over your face. We'll get to you in a minute.
You're not on camera,
Welcome,
girl.
Jess.
You're not on camera. For the first time, we're going to take a month at a time to regroup and get organized and do content creation. Then we're going to take months at a time to do sales for one revenue stream. We're going to take months at a time to do service for another revenue stream. And it just, I'm so excited about it. I'm out of my mind excited about it. So that I know is enabled by the team that I have. And, I think the linchpin to that, and I've kind of shared this before, but is like, I finally got willing to pay market wages. So
yes, Hilary, very much so. That's exactly what happened to me. I went through the iterations of, team members.
What can I get? Can I get a discount on that? And, the answer from the universe is you can get a discount on that and you'll get back half of what you wanted. So anyway, thank goodness for them.
Oh, that is some good business lessons wrapped up into what you're grateful for. So Jess, welcome. We did miss you. That's where the calls and the Voxers went out to. Why don't you just jump in, introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, and maybe like a memory of how we may have met. And then we'll jump back to what we're grateful for.
Absolutely. Well, hello. I am late to the party. My name is Jessica Rodriguez. I am the founder and the business strategist behind Freedom Driven Success, where we help business owners turn the best of what they offer, one-on-one and done for you, into scalable offers. So we are really under the lens of helping you to reclaim the business or the freedom that you originally started your business for. And along with that, what was my second question, Amber?
Maybe how did we meet?
Oh, yes. So we actually met at Podcast Movement in, I think it was 2018. We met for the first time. So I already knew of you. I remember listening to the podcast. I also remember when I met you at Podcast Movement, because I can be a bit awkward. I'm like, oh, she's like too cool for me.
No one's ever said that, so I'll just keep letting you say that story.
Amber, I thought the same thing when we met for the first time at our conference.
Shut the door.
She's not even a thing as old as at our age. Is cool still a thing? I thought we measured cool.
Apparently, I got cool status, Hilary.
I thought it was number of followers.
I wouldn't have been intimidating anybody by that. Yeah. And then we met. And what was funny is I knew Jess because I remember a particular road trip I was on with my husband, and I was downloading all her freebies and on her website, and I listened to her podcast. And then somehow we had a mutual friend or acquaintance at this conference, and then we connected. So we both knew of each other and then got to meet in real life.
Yes. And as we're sitting there, I'm like, oh, she's just like a normal person. Like, of course you are. Of course you are.
That's a good lesson for our listeners, is that there's maybe someone you put on a pedestal or like in a place, and they may not belong there. They could be your next BFF or business partner or some opportunity in your business or personal life if you just get enough nerve to say hi. Yeah. So Jess, I know that you're late. We're not going to keep talking about that, but I just assumed you were just rolling around in your brand new house and like enjoying your house, because she just got to be on a long journey to her dream house, and they were just moving in. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. That has been like a great test of lessons this year. Let me tell you, buying and selling in this market is one extra special level of interesting.
And Jess kind of knew that. She prepared herself, and then everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And then ultimately right. So there you go. You're in the house.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We are still just sharing some lessons. What are we grateful for? LuAnn, and then we'll go to Carol.
So I have to there's a billion things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for these faces that I'm looking at here in this Zoom meeting. I'm grateful for all of the people that I've met through the podcast. And I have to say, I think what I most want to center on now is, I come from running Window Works with my husband and Billy. And by the time I started the podcast, we had been 35 years in business. We hit 40 years this year. And I have a huge amount of gratitude for what we've built in that business. The reputation that we have, the people that we work with, the people that we serve, the fact that I'm now, with the help of Jamie, turning that business over to the next generation of owners in that business, and to watch them going to take this 40-year business for another 40 years is really... It's cool. It's a cool thing. So for all of you that are 1, 2, 5, 10, 25 years in business, a 40-year business is a cool thing. But the crazy thing is that this crazy idea I had to start this podcast, it'll be 6 years ago in February, is going to take us through our retirement. It's like we can walk away from Window Works and know that I'm going to be able to create again an amazing thing that will sustain us at a level that I never imagined could happen from a podcast. Work my what off, by the way, all day long. So it's not like just a water fountain, pouring in here. But I'm also grateful for that. I'm grateful for the fact that I love it so much that it doesn't ever feel like work. And it's really been the intersection of a lot of really smart people, which, you guys are some of them here. And it's like to think that we did this for this 40 years and I'm going to, do this, I don't know, another 10 or 15 or 20. I mean, I can work till I'm 90, can I? 80?
I'm sure you'll let us know.
So it's, I'm sticking to that. I just have to say this, when you're a grandmother, you can't say you're grateful for things and not mention your darn grandchildren. So, disclaimer on that. It's a business show. Of course, I love all my people. Okay.
All right. Carol.
Yeah, well, similar to what many of you have said, definitely grateful for my team and our clients and how they show up when we work with them, being willing to be vulnerable and put themselves out there and dig deep. And because coaching is not always easy. And I know as a recipient of coaching and, and helping others, and I just appreciate them. And then this year, 2021 in particular, so we are just now in the third cohort of our Thought Leader Academy. Our first one started about a year ago. So that has been going really well. Revenue-wise, this is our best year yet. And so again, grateful for that. And like Amanda mentioned, with COVID last year in 2020, we had to do a lot of pivoting too, but ultimately I think it was for the best. It actually built a stronger business than I think it would have otherwise if we hadn't. So that's one silver lining there. And other things is that, so for our most recent enrollment for the Thought Leader Academy, the sales process was so enjoyable. And I'm kind of afraid to say effortless because I don't want to jinx myself, but it really felt like it. And I think it's because of the consistent podcast content that I put out over the summer around thought leadership, and that attracted the exact right women that we wanted for the program. So I'm like, all right, let's keep doing that.
Was that strategic? Like, did you say we're doing it in the summer so that in the fall, it would be easier? Yes. Okay, good. Good. Awesome. All right, Jessica, what are you most grateful for?
I was like, as I was hearing you guys go, don't cry.
I'm going to cry. So you just warm it up.
This year has been one where on the personal level, nothing was going, according to plan, which is now wrapped up in the home buying process. But it was just this constant back and forth ever since the beginning of the year. But with business, between the clients, between our team, which we actually had to essentially flip in February and bringing in all new people, everything, the amount of times I have just sat back, I can't believe this is what things look like now. Like the business supports me in my best times, my worst times, it is really at this place with incredible people that not only help to serve in the back end of the business, but the people that we get to support, just the understanding and the compassion and the grace that's given. It's just been a beautiful thing to witness. And all the friends, even on this call, just people that have held space throughout it. Just something I am incredibly grateful for.
Yes, I'm really happy for you. I'm glad, it seems like there's a theme, right? Like everyone's kind of referencing a really shitty time. And we could have had this conversation, months ago, and maybe some of our listeners are in the middle of that really shitty, hard time, or the overwhelm on the street corner, Amanda, as you described, of like all the emotions and not quite knowing where the business is going to go next. So I love that each of you are being open and vulnerable with and now on the other side of it, that's the very thing you're grateful for, and oftentimes has been a benefit to our businesses. So I will share what I'm grateful for. So I have been literally immersing myself in gratitude because it has been a very hard few months, just personally in my life with some health and other personal things. And it all comes back to people. So first of all, my friends, like you guys were the ones in my Voxer and my text messages supporting me from afar. And I would just turn to my husband with tears and be like, I feel so cared about. I feel so loved. I have no energy to respond, but that's it. That's all I get out of this. Like it was just really, really great to be surrounded by such wonderful people that cared. And then my team, they literally came through. So me being out of my business for 6+ weeks, they really, really showed up. And that was such a gift because it gave me the gift and the space that I needed to get through whatever I needed to get through. And then my clients, same thing, is like, we all have stories of like not great clients. But I will tell you what, my clients amazingly came through and were so supportive and kind and came with grace. And I couldn't have expected it unless something really bad happened and I tested it. And when I did, what came out of it was that, I'm all for a good profitability goal in our businesses, and I'm all in for a good, what we're going to accomplish. But at the end of the day, my business journey has given me the opportunity to have really good friendships and relationships, great relationships with my clients, and an amazing team. And that team gets to support their family as well through working at the company. So that's what I'm grateful for. All right. So now that I didn't cry, but I did share what I was grateful for, we can celebrate that.
I think you made all of us cry a little bit, Amber. I mean, we're all teary-eyed here.
I know. You got me there.
I wouldn't say I'm like tremendously an emotional person, but when it comes to my people, that's every time it gets me. Like I can't hold it together when I feel that way. So there we go. All right. Well, you kind of jumped ahead because the other thing that I was going to ask you to share is some sort of big business lesson. We're still in the middle of, pandemic. It looks very, very much different, but many of you actually referenced that, again, Amanda, that we thought 1 month later, we thought we were going to be past this, like April 2020, we got this. And it's almost like it just slowly happened. And some of us had to make changes quickly. And some of us had to make changes later once we went through the grieving of acceptance, okay, this really is a thing and I need to change my business. So if anyone has any examples where you can share a really hard business decision or a shift or a pivot, even Vita, you were referencing that there had to be a shift for you, but it was because business went so big and grew so fast for you, right? So there's just so many different ways that our current world and environment has affected our businesses. Anybody want to start us off with some lessons learned or stories? LuAnn.
So mine is not COVID related, but mine is learned from you. And so I think it's important to share how amazing you do what you do. And we made a joke at the beginning, like you and Vita are like-minded with your Excel spreadsheets and all the crap, right? And, it's so funny. Well, it's just so funny to me because after Amber started coaching me for productivity, which I know you all cannot believe that I needed a productivity coach. I know you're just shocked, okay?
Shocker.
But the funny thing is I don't know, the second or third week, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to run. I got Vita started. I'm like, wait, Vita is coming to you for productivity coaching? Like, I have got to be your worst student ever if people like Vita are coming for productivity coaching, right? But the thing is that it took you a year and a half to get through my thick skull on it. Okay. And and I'm not a yeah, but girl. I hate yeah, but girls. Oh yeah, but that won't work for me. Right. I don't generally live in the yeah, but space. I don't believe that you can achieve really beyond a level of success if you're not willing to get out of a yeah, but space. But I had a yeah, but space, and you pushed me through it. And when you pushed me through it, we found like 20 hours of my week. And then, of course, I filled it with 25 more hours worth of things to do, but that's on me, and that's how I am, and I'm a lunatic, right? But I don't know, I mean, if you want me to say the exact lesson, because for somebody to understand it, but let me do the cliff notes on it. The cliff notes on it is that you kept pressing me to take an area of my podcast that I felt like I was the only one that could do it. And it was writing the intro outros. And you're going through how many hours it takes and all the things. And you're just like, this has got to go. And I said, no, you see, you could take my arm off. You could take my leg off. You could do a lot of things, but you can't. I have to write the intro outro. It's me talking to my audience. Like, you're crazy. And she said, what if you just explored what it would look like if you hired somebody to do it? And literally for 7 months, we would almost end every coaching session going, what would it look like if you just explored? And finally I was like, all right, bitch, I'll just explore it. I'm like, all right. I just was embarrassed literally months after month saying, it's not going to work. And so I did it. And let me tell you what, people from my audience came through, and all of a sudden I put it out in the universe that I needed this. One was at that point, a 3-year plus listener who happens to be a writer. And she's like, I'd love to write your intro outros. I was like, oh my God, right? And then another listener from the audience went out into her professional network of writers and found a writer who was willing to listen to the darn show so that she could write good intro outros. Now I edit them to make them sound like me. It is still me talking to my audience. But, I get a document that I spend 15 or 20 minutes on instead of looking at a blank paper that I spend 2 hours on every week. And, that's a huge lesson to all of us. And you guys know me. I'm a delegator. Oh, here's 16 things to do. All right, I'll take none of them. Here, you guys do all of them. I am a delegator. And so that's why I really believed I was and Amber knows this, I was very committed to, this is my brand and I couldn't possibly, and I will ruin everything I have built up. And if I just let this go, the whole house will fall.
I.e. stories that we tell ourselves,
yes,
i.e. the stories we tell ourselves.
Exactly. And the thing about it is that I think what I want the listeners to take from the lesson is even if you don't see the path, if someone smarter than you and someone who cares about you is suggesting another path, you owe it to yourself in that and the respect that you have for that person to do it and to try it. And you might find that it works. And it probably will. And it was an amazing
for that, LuAnn.
I appreciate it.
And so from my perspective and the coach's perspective is that I was so intimately knowing where you want to go and what you're going to create in your future. And I'm like, she's holding this 20 hours in her hand. She can't let go of it to grab on to what's next for you. And you have so much value to more value to the world than doing first run drafts of intro and outros.
Well, that was where you hit me between the eyes, by the way. 6-7 months of trying to get me to do it. And I only saw the benefit to me. And finally you said, do you know how many of us out here that you contribute to what we do? Mm-hmm. We need you doing it because it's feeding an ecosystem here, lady. Get out of all of our way, would you please? Now, you didn't say it like that. You said it like, the world needs you to show up and all of that. And I'm like, oh, I'm blocking everybody's train. Okay.
Yep, there you go. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yes, Carol.
Okay, so I have a lesson about delegation, but it's almost the opposite of what LuAnn just talked about. And I am all for delegating, LuAnn. I am with you. 16 things, like I'll take 2 of them, but the other 14, like I'm happy to give away to team members. So here's what happened though, as far as like the opposite of delegation. So back a year ago, we had run our virtual event, which was an all-day live summit with 10 women speakers, panels, right? LuAnn was at the first one that we ran. And then we decided to run it again in April of this year, 2021. And we had documented the heck out of the first one. So I was like, plug and play, baby. Got my team. They're in Google Docs. They're in Asana. Like they're just going to run through it. So it was like all of Q1 was focused on that. And we had, new speakers, but pretty much the same format. And I hated it. I felt so disconnected from the event. Like I honestly just felt like this thing was going on without me. I had no relationship to it because everything was delegated. I wasn't writing emails. I wasn't writing marketing content. So after that event happened, I kind of did my own reflection and I realized like I'm the voice of the business and I enjoy writing and I enjoy the thought leadership. So I actually need to put myself back into that marketing seat and obviously delegate the kind of like the marketing task, like the execution task, but put myself back in the marketing seat because I took myself out of it. And then I realized that I really missed it. And I was just like, I hate my business. And this is ridiculous. I should not be hating my business because I love my business. And it definitely fixed it.
Oh, what a great lesson there. Yeah, we think we know what we want to get let go of, and then it's gone, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. All right. Jamie.
So I can actually piggyback off of what Carol said. When we're going through, you're thinking about your business and everybody is like, you must scale, you must scale, you must scale, you must grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had this moment in the last year or two where we were on this hiring. We were hiring and it was going really well. And then COVID happened and I'm like, we're not going to hire for a little bit. And then thankfully, everything was good with our business and we were quite busy and continue to be quite busy. And I had a moment, I think very similarly to Carol, where I was like, I don't know that I want to hire anymore because then I'm not going to get to do the things that I love, which is all the strategy with my clients. It means I'm not going to know every client that comes in the door. It means that I'm not going to have time to have conversations with each of them to make sure that they're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for them. And so I made the very bizarre decision, which most people in like the entrepreneur world think you're insane, to just stop and be like, we're all making really good money.
That's great.
Let's just keep making that money. And let's just make it, make ourselves more efficient and make our processes really good and give us, like Amanda said, a bit of a quality of life. Yeah. And that was the most freeing decision that I could have made because it, one, enabled me to keep doing the things that I wanted to do, took off that bizarre notion that you need to have 50 employees across 7 offices and go public and all these things when you can be really happy with what it is that you're doing and like be able to take really cool vacations and buy the stuff that you want. But also freed me up to say, well, if I'm not going to keep scaling and if I can manage my time right now, like what else can I do? Because I tend to like shiny things and new things. So that was a really valuable lesson for me from the pandemic, was like, slow down and think about what you love doing and don't necessarily give that up. If growth means sacrificing that, then maybe think through what you really want to be doing.
So good. I wish that we're not recording this video, but everyone's heads are nodding like, yes, like that realization that you can own whatever vision of success is for you and it doesn't need to be anybody else's. And sometimes that can be a quote unquote smaller business that's just as profitable and arguably sometimes more profitable than larger businesses that have way more expenses and less profitable. Yep. Yeah. All right. Any other lessons that you want to share? Vita.
I will go. My lesson this year is extremely practical, not sexy at all. Not like any of your lessons, ladies.
She invented a new spreadsheet. Here it comes.
But I wish. Unfortunately, it was slightly more tragic than that. But I think back to March 5th of this year, which at this point, November, it feels like eternity ago. And I remember driving into work, and my office was all of 5 minutes away from my house. And it was a beautiful March day. It was actually kind of warm, sunny, blue skies. And I remember driving for those 5 minutes and thinking, I love my life. Like, this is amazing. I have a great team. I have the right people. Business is great. Like, things are so good. Like, I mean, I was just like loving it. It was a Friday. I'm like, this is going to be great. What a great weekend coming up. And that was, let's say, around 9 a.m. Well, fast forward 5 hours later, and we had a really bad, devastating electrical fire in the office that burnt everything pretty much that we had. Over 100 bolts of fabric, many blinds and shades and all the product that was waiting to be installed, all the soft treatments that were waiting to be installed, some of the equipment, just a lot of, everything that you have in the office, right? And what I realized in the process of recovery is that I did not have the proper insurance to cover the loss. And so, not to get into all the gory details here and why it happened and how it happened, but my practical lesson this year, and to all the listeners, and I've been preaching it to anyone who would listen, is you look at, if you're holding inventory, then count the highest possible month or the time of the year. If you're not holding inventory, then think about the highest possible risk that you're exposed to, and protect yourself. Protect yourself, because we look at these things on TV. There's always all these devastating events happening all over the world and the country, and you think, nah, it will never happen to me. I mean, I live in beautiful Bucks County outside of Philly. Like, nothing happens here. This is great. Everything's good. I'm protected somehow, or I'm absolved of all of it. And you're not. And you never know when a devastating event will hit you personally, will hit your business, will hit your family. And it is for those times that we have the protection that we need. So look at all of your paperwork, like look at the foundation of your house, metaphorically and literally sometimes, and make sure that it's in order. So that's my unsexy lesson for today.
I think I'm going to have Vita come and say stuff on my website, because no one ever believes you. No one ever believes me.
I'm walking advertisement, Jamie.
She's got the photos that will really bring that point home. I mean, that is so devastating. And then once you kind of wrap your mind around that it happened, you're like, okay, cool, I have insurance. And then you're like, oh
crap.
Yeah.
And many other expletives.
Exactly.
And that was just for a little bit of clarity. The thing is, what I remember you telling us, Vita, at the time was, it wasn't that you didn't have insurance. It was that you purchased a policy when you started your business. And now 4 years later, your business was much more valuable. So the insurance wasn't in line, and your agent had it. He was phoning it in. He was just like letting you renew each year. And you didn't know. I literally, when that happened and you told me that, I literally marched into Vinny's office at WindowWorks. And I'm like,
good for you.
Insurance do we have?
Good for you.
We have insurance. I'm like, no, but how much, Vin? But how much?
Exactly. How much? And also, in addition to what you said, you're absolutely right. In addition to that, I've always operated outside of my house, and and then I moved because sales grew. Team grew, everything grew. So I moved out of my house. I had a location and just didn't have enough insurance to cover not enough and not proper insurance to cover that location. So the lesson is, the highest possible liability and risk, and also any kind of changes that happen in your life, whether it's moving or, new team member, new W-2s, new baby, I don't know, new marriage, whatever, anything, any big events that happen in your life, you have to relook at your foundation all over again. I mean, it's like, I think of it almost, thinking back to like as a designer, being in the interior designer industry, it's like you have a table, you can have a 3-legged table. It can have 3 legs for a 4-legged table, when that table is not going to be very stable, and eventually it's going to fall over. And it did. It can stand there for a little while. I was okay there for a little while. And it's not like I didn't have it on my to-do list, Amber. I did. Get insurance. I moved to a different location. I rented a space. I had really good years. Get insurance. But you know what? A customer calls. Your team needs you. I don't know. Your kids need you. Your husband needs you. You need to unwind. All of these things, they all bubble up to the top of your to-do list, and you do everything right, and you try to run your business, and you try to satisfy your clients, and you try to be there for everybody else. And then that to-do item, get insurance, kept dropping further and further down on that list. And eventually, it was there. I looked at it. It was there, but it's so far buried underneath all of those other things that listen, I can't blame anybody else. I blame myself. I take full responsibility. I did not make it a priority. And the thing is, if your foundation is cracked, if you've been operating on a 3-legged table, if it's supposed to have a 4th leg, it's going to fall.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Better get in front of it.
This is a good lesson because, like you, LuAnn, I actually changed my insurance this year after that, right? So I remember reaching out to Jamie. I'm like, look, I just had this feeling, and I've been paying this company Arizona Mission Insurance for a while. I feel like they're not going to have my back if something really goes down. Like, what are the top business brokerages that, do Arizona Mission? And then, just like you're saying, Vita, even me, it was that power hour little task. I'm like, yeah, call, get a quote. Yeah, call, get a quote, get a quote. And then, just like I teach, I called, got a quote, signed in 30 minutes, right? Like, in our heads, we think it could be this really big thing. And for me, just switching it over, I was able to pay half of what I was paying and get 3 times as much insurance being a different company. So there's a lot. So thank you for getting the thing that rolls over that doesn't seem that important until it is, or a friend says, hey, that could be a really important thing on your to-do list. Get it done. Yep. All right. I saw another hand earlier. Business lesson you would like to share? Jess.
Yes. So this actually showed up a lot from an experience with Amanda. And it was because, the lesson itself was not being the sole critical thinker in your business. And what I was having was this time at the beginning of the year, and really last year too, where there was this constant weight of me always making the decisions, right? Me always being the one that has to catch the things and do this. And it's like, but I did the right things. I have the team, right? Like, they're supposed to be doing everything. And I just figured, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I was going forward. And then I went to her event, Pitch School Live, and I was watching how her team was navigating. So and even small and mighty team, I was seeing her OBM and her VA and just how they were talking, prepping for the event. And then for the event live, where it's like, oh, we capture the comments, we do this. And just watching the whole thing play out, just as a witness of all of it, I was watching, I'm like, oh, I am definitely doing something wrong in my business. It does not look like this. And when I was downstairs from the event space, I was talking to her business manager, and she said something that stuck with me so much that day, is about the fact that you can't teach critical thinking. So you have to have somebody who comes in that way, and then they can learn your tools, your this, all the different things we use in our business, but that you can't teach people. And I'm like, I'm the only one who has that skill set. And we wound up going, and the whole team is completely, different after that. And now that I look at the way people operate and oh, I made this change because I realized, based on this, it just didn't make sense. And I thought you'd be okay. And I'm like, oh, I'm more than okay. This is great. So it was one of those lessons that I will always take with me. And I was just watching it happen. I'm like, yeah, what Amanda has, I'm going to go get me some of that.
Well, I'm writing it down, Jess. You can't teach critical thinking, because I'm going to go get me some of that too. I have one person that does that, but I need about 4 others.
Even at the VA level.
That was something that I realized. I came to a turning point, and this wasn't a lesson from this year. This is Amanda. This wasn't a lesson from this year. Maybe it was from about 2 plus years ago, 2.5 or so years ago, where I was operating with just a virtual assistant who did not think critically at all. And I got to a turning point. It was really like, I am someone who will usually, follow a path till I get to my wit's end. And then I will make a decision on a dime and be super clear on it. And I just was like, that's it. I am done doing anything in my business that someone else could do. I will find someone to do all the things that someone else can do, and I will do only the things that only I can do. And I hired my business manager, and we kept that virtual assistant for a little while because I think there was this deference that my online business manager had to my existing staff. And then when I raised that this is not working, she was like, okay, let's find someone who, and that was when she, and I learned that from her as well, like she will hire, and this probably is a business lesson just as a takeaway for anyone listening, to look for people who have the spirit and the energy and the skill set, that critical thinking, mind. And you can train for any other, skill that they need to learn. So our operations coordinator now is actually someone who my OBM has known like for her whole life, that, they live locally near each other. And she just knew her to be the kind of person that could do this work. And the systems that we use are all trainable.
Awesome. All right. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're getting ready to come up on the top of our hour together. So I want to say thank you for everyone for, investing your time, showing up here today, supporting each other, but also giving such great wisdom and insight to the listeners of Productivity Straight Talk. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Well done, Amber, as always.
Thank you.
Aw, thank you, ladies. I told you we were going to be sharing so many nuggets with you. I am so grateful that my friends were able to join me virtually to bring this episode to you. Inside our show notes, you can head on over to amberdelagarza.com/218. And in there, we are going to be linking out to all of our guests, their bios, how to find them, follow them on Instagram, and really see how the work they do in the world can help you and your business. We are also going to be linking out to each of their episodes where they were a guest in their area of expertise on Productivity Straight Talk in the past. Every one of these ladies have brought such value and insights to Productivity Straight Talk. So I really want to make sure that you get to dive into those episodes and learn from them. I've loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and I sure hope you had found it so valuable to you and your business. I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on the nuggets, the stories, the insights, what will you take away from today's episode? What will you implement and change so that you can really make an impact for yourself and your business? That's my question for you today. Knowledge without action is really just more information. And that is not what we are here for at Productivity Straight Talk. What I want most for you is that you get to live your dream, that you get to grow your business, that you get to achieve your goals in a way that doesn't feel stressful. And with that being said, I am hosting a free masterclass called Full Speed Ahead, How to Achieve Any Goal You Set. If you haven't already registered to join us, you can do so by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. My hope for you is that you take me up on this invitation to join me for this masterclass. I want you to be ready to be going full speed ahead into 2022. I want you to have the momentum, the clarity, everything you need to slay your goals into 2022. So make sure you join us by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.